Hi guys, I'm Brian Latimer. Thanks for taking time to watch this video today. Today we're going to do something a little different. Normally I do tips, tactics, and every once in a while I have a storyline for you guys, but today we're going to do something totally different. We're going to do nothing but catches, an NBC episode if you want to call it that. This is going to be just 5 of my favorite catches that I've had while I've been doing this YouTube thing. I've only been into it for about a month now. You guys have really poured on the love and support for me. I really appreciate that. I hope you'll keep sharing, keep commenting. It's just really been overwhelming and flattering, all the support you guys have given me. So let's get to it. Nothing but catches. I really think you're going to enjoy this segment. That particular catch, the dab fish, was right here at home, the river here at home. You know, we have a lot of 2, 3, occasional 4-pounders, but those 5, 6, 7-pounders are really rare. But I got to an area where I'd fished this river a couple times when I was doing the Tim Mania segment. And I think it was 2 or 3 days that I spent on the river. And every time I get to this certain section, there was a little bridge and there was some laydowns and everything blown up around the bridge pilings and everything. And there's a riprap there. The water is really low, and it was just one of those sections where the fish were congregating because it was a little deeper water. There was a little current there, some current breaks, there's laydowns there. It was just kind of the perfect scenario. And every time I get there, I'd catch a 4 or 5-pounder. This particular, I caught one I'm pretty sure was pushing 6 here. So, you know, just walking up into it, this was just, I wasn't using anything fancy in that entire segment. You can look, I caught all my fish on a 10-inch ribbon-tail worm. And the whole point of that segment was to show you that you could catch fish on simple old school stuff. I was in my aluminum boat, no electronics, very small trolling motor, low horsepower. I used mono, 15-pound test mono. I even used a lead sinker. Oh God, I know some guys are gonna flip out. You can't believe you weren't using tungsten. A lead sinker and a 5/0 offset hook, simple as it could get. And so I'm working into this particular area where I've caught fish right there at that bridge, and you know, I'm pretty much on point, on guard as I'm working my way up there. And I make just a little short cast up to the riprap. And these fish this time of year, they'll get on that just any kind of sharp drop. It doesn't always have to be a log or a lay down or anything like that. They'll get just on a sharp drop. So I pull up to the little sharp drop, flip my worm out there on that riprap, and I'm just hopping it down the ledge, and you'll see when I go to hop it, that line just tightens up. And I rear back on him, set the hook, and this fish, when I set the hook, I knew this was a good fish. Set the hook, he immediately just runs out to the left, and I just try to control him because he's running over here into this laydown, this basically a big blown up log jam around the bridge, and he heads over that way, and I wrestle him, get him coming back the other way, bring him back around, fight him for a couple minutes. You know, it's probably about a 1.5-minute catch, fight him a couple minutes, and I pull him up, and I'm just, you know, excited because, you know, you don't really come in the river, there's a lot of 1 to 3-pound fish, not a lot of those 4, 6-pound fish in there. So anytime you get a fish like that way back in the creek, that's always going to be a bonus fish. One of the most exciting catches that I had all year. So catch number 2, I'm sure you guys, like, again, if you follow me much on social media, we had a tour stop at Lake Champlain this year, and smallmouth has grown to be something that I've never really had a strong smallmouth tournament, but I really enjoy fishing for smallmouth. It's sort of a breath of fresh air. We don't have a big smallmouth population here in South Carolina, at least in the upstate. And to get to do something a little different is always exciting for me. So, you know, I'm really jacked up about catching smallmouth now. And this particular year, we went really early to Champlain. It was in June, early June at that. And a lot of fish were still spawning. I was catching these fish up on a shallow sand flat, had a little bit of grass in there mixed in, and I'm just throwing a stick bait, wacky rig, and a tube, and I threw a little bit of top water. That was it. And I was doing a little bit of fan casting on this flat, just casting around. These fish are just up cruising around. Some were on beds, and some of them are just there swimming around. And so I'm fan casting, and I'm also finding a few fish that are spawning, and some are just cruising. So, they're also feeding on mayflies or some type of bugs. And every once in a while, it was almost like they were schooling. You would fish, and you'd hear one just come up and just bloop, just hit the surface, and they were feeding on bugs. Well, if you could get your bait over there within the first, 3 to 5 seconds, and when they came up, you were pretty much going to catch that fish. So, I'm fishing around, and I hear one jump behind me. You can see I turn around real quick, and I make a cast over there where I heard him jump at. As soon as that thing hit the water, I threw it out there, just let it sink. A lot of times when they're feeding like that, if you'll just throw it out there, they'll circle around. Smallmouth are really sight feeders. They'll circle around and find that bait. So I just let it sit there, clicked it over, and I'm like, that feels like grass. That feels like grass. That's not grass. So rear back on him. That was a good fish. I fought that fish for it was a really long fight, probably a 2 or 3 minute catch there. I clipped it so we'd do it, just for time purposes here on YouTube. But catching smallmouth on shallow flats like that, fighting them, they pull a lot of drag. There's a really small water column. They only have one way to go when they're fighting. They're going to go out. So catching those smallmouth on those flats at Champlain was absolutely a blast. I had a lot of fun doing that. I fished one flat. It was a huge flat, probably a 10 or 12 acre flat, for 2 days there with 2 other guys, and we just caught them both days, all day there. Didn't catch a lot of big fish, caught a lot of 3-pounders. Getting to that 3.5, 3.25 range was the difference maker in that tournament. I didn't even cash a check in that tournament, but I caught so many fish and had so much fun. It was still one of my favorite tour stops all year long. I've also got into wading and doing some of the really small craft. Of course, I always fish out of my aluminum boat, but I really got into walking rivers and fishing out of my kayaks and things like that this year. I bought my first kayak this year. Had a lot of fun. A lot of places that I like to fish, you can't even get to them in an aluminum boat, a jet boat, or anything. You literally have to have good knees, legs, and feet, or a kayak. And I found a lot of little places that are hidden gems around here close to my house this year. So there was one little place that I found. There's a smallmouth gem, and on one particular trip, the smallmouth really weren't doing that great that particular day. We had just had a really hard rain. I think that washed a lot of the bait out away from that particular shoal that I was fishing, and for whatever reason, the catfish were in this area just like crazy. So that particular day, I was fishing for smallmouth with smallmouth gear, smallmouth bait, smallmouth everything. Just throwing a small little, it's a new bait from Z-Man Fishing called a micro finesse jig. And I would throw that in the rocks in the current. I was there fishing with my buddy Glenn, who's the national sales director from Z-Man Fishing. And we were going out of smallmouth. Well, we're fishing along, and all of a sudden we just hear this big whoosh, a commotion. And I told Glenn, because I'd been there the week before, I was like, that's probably a catfish. So, I just haphazardly cast over there. A lot of times when you hear something jump like that, you won't actually catch it. Sometimes it's a carp, a gar, some kind of trash fish. So I throw over there, I catch it. I throw over there with the little micro finesse jig with the hula stick on the bottom. I just flip my bait over there, work it. And I didn't even have my camera really expect to catch anything. I heard that commotion, I flipped over there, and I'll be darned if the fish didn't get it as soon as it hit the water. So I hurry up, flipped my camera on, I had my little chest harness on it, and I was like, that's a good one. And immediately when he started digging, the first thing the smallmouth usually does when you hook him is jump. Well, this fish didn't jump, it just immediately took off. So I knew it was a catfish. I've been there the week before, been catching some catfish, and so I immediately hollered at Glenn. I was like, feels like a catfish. It's just digging too much, not jumping, doing way too much running and not enough jumping. Smallmouth love to jump. So I fought this fish. I mean, this is a giant. I've got him coming for every 10 inches that I pull, he takes another 10 foot. So I'm fighting him. I've got him coming to the boat. I've got him coming to me. They get in that current, and it's really hard to turn those fish around. The catfish has such a big body, it's hard to turn that fish around in the current. Catch number 4. You guys probably know that I really like light tackle fishing. I've been doing a a lot more finesse fishing, really kind of fishing in my groove no matter where I go lately, and it's really paid off. Well, this summer, I think this was in August, I just made it in my mind to go to a place down here at the house. It's called Lake Russell. A place I really don't enjoy fishing that much, just to make me get used to fishing places that I don't really enjoy, because every time we make a tour stop, it may not be your particular taste in fishing, but you still got to catch them. You still got to make money when you're out there. So I just made it my job to go down there and see if I could catch fish on Lake Russell. I flip it up towards the bridge pile and I'm pretty much ready to go. It's pretty much the end of the day. Throw it up there and I feel one's got it. And you know, I've caught a lot of pound and a half, pound and a quarter. That's about, if you catch a 2-pounder, you're doing really good in August on Lake Russell. So, you know, I sat back on him kind of nonchalant. And I'd fished a tournament here a couple weeks before that at Russell. I actually did really well in it, so I knew there was some fish there, and I had just lost a big cat in this particular spot. So when I set the hook on this fish, didn't really move much. I could tell it was a heavy fish. You don't ever know what you're gonna catch on a bridge, because it's pretty much a funnel for everything. Well, I thought it might have been a catfish because I caught one before, fought it for a long time, thought it was a big largemouth, it ended up being a catfish. Well, set the hook, I got him coming to the boat, and it's just pull and drag, pull and drag, pull and drag, pull and drag. And I'm like, man, what is that? What do I have here? Oh.
I want y'all to look at where this fish was hooked at. Look where that fish was hooked at. Right in the fin. Barely had it hooked. That, my friend, is what we come for right there. That is a big bass. Yes. Woo! Look at that fish. That's about a 6-pounder. That's about a 6-pounder right there. Pretty small, but I might like it.
No matter where I go, I always enjoy just catching fish. I'm a true fisherman at heart, and as long as I'm fishing and catching fish, I'm always satisfied. So I get excited. It doesn't matter if it's a catfish, it's a crappie, smallmouth, largemouth, spotted bass. Just catching fish is really important to me anytime I go out there fishing. So thank you guys for taking time to watch this video. If you haven't already, follow me on all my social media sources. I'm at Brian Latimer on Instagram, and also follow my fan page on Facebook. It's just Brian Latimer Fishing. That's all you have to do. Follow me. I post about fishing, tips, tactics, and everything related to fishing almost daily. Remember to subscribe if you haven't already. I do a new video every Thursday. Make sure you guys come back next week for a good video from B.Lat.